Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Robin Morton here from Defiantly Digital and Win with Robin. Really excited today to be talking to Willemijn Wolters, and I probably butchered that name wrong. And I also get away with calling her Mela, which is much easier for me to say. I'm really excited to introduce Mela to you. So we're going to have a nice chat about all the exciting projects that she's involved in at the moment. If you don't know who I am, I think you do, but I am an entrepreneur who lives in the Highlands of Scotland on a tiny little island. That's the view out of my window. I have done many things in my life, but I am never happier when I'm working with people in the blockchain space and helping them with blockchain. That is how I came to meet Mela, and it has been an amazing journey we've had together so far in 2021. And so, Mela, would you like to give my audience a little background to where you are and how you got here?
Yes, good morning. And your pronunciation of Willemijn is pretty accurate, actually. So thank you for that, for trying. So, well, my name says it probably already. I'm Dutch. My name is pretty Dutch. And I wasn't able to pronounce my own name when I was little. So that's why I called myself Mela, which came in very handy, especially when I started traveling. And I love to travel. I've traveled quite a lot. I've been all around the world. Yeah, where to start? I've always been sort of the black sheep. Doesn't feel like that to me, but in meeting other people, they always say you do such different things, and then they're trying to be nice, I think.
It's when people say to you, you're so lucky you have done that, but you can see behind their eyes they're thinking,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so yeah, where to start? I'm a photographer and an artist from how do you say that, from education.
Yes.
And I've worked in all kinds of environments, but my biggest achievement is actually sailing the Indian Ocean, in my opinion.
Wow. How did you end up doing that?
Well, I was doing this very technical photography education program, and I was there way too long, and I was completely bored and fed up with it. And then I heard about a group of people that were traveling, sailing the whole world in 3 years.
Wow.
And
wow.
as from a little child on, I wanted to sail the oceans because I'm a very big sailor since childhood.
I love the ocean too. I love it.
Yeah, I thought so. So I investigated that because I was triggered, because I thought when they can do it, I can do it. That's one of the phrases I always use. If you can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
And and I that's something I truly believe. If I can do it, you can do it, but also the other way around. It's just how much effort do you want to put in, and how much education are you willing to put in?
I love that. Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I've had people say that to me when I had a bricks and mortar business. People used to say, "You're so lucky. I wish I could do that." And I would say to them, "Well, why don't you do that? You know, it's easy. Just borrow lots of money, get in debt up to your ears, and you can do this too."
Yeah. Well, and that is the thing. I do believe in luck in a certain way, but I don't believe making your life worthwhile. That doesn't depend on luck. It depends on the effort and the work you want to put in. And what, like you say, if you want to be in bricks and mortar, you have to be willing to get in debt and well, take the risk. And what is your risk?
Sorry, Mel. That phrase, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah. and that also goes with bumps and hoops. Do you say it like that?
Yes. Yes, success is never a straight line. That's another great expression. It's it's a very bumpy road sometimes, a roller coaster, and we've had a roller coaster of a time in the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
But I think we're proof that you can come through these situations and come out of it in a positive way. So where did you go in your cruise around the Indian Ocean? Where did you go from and to?
Well, so I met one of the captains of one of the boats, and they were in Hawaii when I first contacted him. I contacted him via satellite telephone, so that was really special to talk to him that way. We decided that I could board in Australia. So I have relatives in Australia. So first I had a little holiday there with the family. And then I went up to Durban. And from Durban, I started my journey. And the funny thing is, in the first 2 days on the ocean, I discovered that I am the more thrill-seeking sailor. Because there was no wind and I was really so nauseous that I hardly could stand on my feet.
Whoa.
But I've sailed in Europe, so on the North Sea and on the lakes within the Netherlands, which is completely different to the Indian Oceans. The waves are much longer on the Indian Ocean, so it's actually much more relaxing, but I'm more of a thrill seeker.
Very much. So you're very far from land, aren't you? You're very, very far from land at that point.
Yeah, and that goes pretty fast. And so the first trip was from Durban to Bali, and somewhere halfway through, we were followed by pirates, which was also quite exciting. And luckily they were far enough away, but we did have a motor, but these pirates do have very big ships, and it's actually quite I haven't seen them up close, so I haven't been scared, but it was threatening. And we were actually saved by the US Marine, because they were contacting all the ships in the area, and we identified ourselves, and we had a normal chat, and these guys didn't identify themselves, so they went after them, and that was actually quite so we've been followed by the pirates for 2 or 3 days. And
I had a scientist friend, a lady who, she's about the same age as me. She works for a local scientific institute in Scotland, and she was in near where you were. She was off the coast of Papua New Guinea, where there's a Scottish research station, funnily enough, in Papua New Guinea, and she was working there. But she was on a ship, and they would go. The ship would sail for weeks and weeks at a time without going onto land, and they were attacked by pirates. And when I said, and she survived because she was telling me about it, but I said, why were the pirates so interested in you? And she said, it wasn't me, it wasn't us that were interested in, it was the cargo. And I said, but you're a scientific research boat. And she went, yes. I said, so what was your cargo? She said, well, there was something like 20 of us on this boat, and we're out there for 3 weeks. We had something like $5,000 worth of alcohol on board. Just the normal thing, wine with a meal and all that sort of thing, and that's what they were after.
That's what I discovered later, because I also met somebody who was attacked by pirates, and they took his boat because his boat was quite how do you say it? Normal. It wasn't flashy or anything, so they could sell it for good money.
Yeah.
But actually, what they were interested in was all the goods that were on board, and they left him in the safety rack on the ocean. And he was very lucky, because I also know of people that didn't survive because they just take everything. And so I was pretty lucky, but I discovered that afterwards. Thank God, because I did my research about sailing on the ocean and the dangers, but I never thought of pirates because that to me was like an ancient thing that was not from this time. So
It'd be all right if they looked like Johnny Depp. I think my wife would be quite happy to be kidnapped by a pirate like Johnny Depp.
yeah, but if it's just the looks, if he's such a badass.
Yeah, true. Wow, so you are a thrill seeker. You really are a thrill seeker.
Yeah, maybe. Well, so that was the first trip, and after that we went to Cocos-Keeling, which is a very small group of islands that belongs to Australia. And that was at a point I was like, oh, am I going to continue this journey? Because it was tough. It was really tough. I was the only girl.
Yeah, you were the only girl on the boat. Yeah. Oh, wow.
That is tough. Yeah. And so I've sailed with 3 different boats. The first was with what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on well, I think it was 15 feet. The boat, is it feet?
Gosh. Meters, maybe.
No, it was about 18 meters.
Wow. Okay.
It was, yeah, quite a big boat, and I had my own cabin there, and I could. I could have my own privacy, but as far as privacy goes when you are together on a boat, because you are literally Big Brother is really, you have a lot of space and privacy compared to this. So for the guys and girls who make Big Brother, maybe do it on a boat. That makes it even more interesting.
Exactly. I think they'll be jumping off.
Yeah, and because of my seasickness, when there was no wind, it was tough for myself physically. But being on board with people you actually don't know, because we've never met before, or maybe once, and it's also quite tough. And I was actually glad that I didn't know them, because I knew that if I left the boat, I didn't have to be in contact with them. I do have contact with one of them occasionally, but it was also, the captain had his, well, how do I say that, friendly? Well, it's hard to make it friendly. He had his own story that happened, and he was a very good storyteller. So my parents were having sleepless nights at home because of the stories he shared, and I was like, but that is half of the truth that he's telling there. So they were very happy always when I called them when we were on board or on land again. So that was tough. So mentally, it was also tough for me as being the only girl, because they tended to give me all the house chores, and I came there for sailing, and I knew I had to do some house chores because that is part of, well, living a life on board. So that was the other thing that I was like, yeah, I'm not a housemate. I'm sorry, I don't buy that, and I'm quite tough when it comes to that. So when we came at Cocos-Keeling, we stayed there a bit longer than we went. Oh no, well, we had first, when we came to Bali, we had to give our passports to the authorities there, and we stayed there longer than expected because they didn't want to give back our passports, because they wanted to pay and pay and pay and pay and pay and pay. So. And then when you stand there in the office with a couple of military people with these big, well, I don't know, I don't think it's jacuzzis, but it felt like a jacuzzi to me. I'm not so much into guns.
No.
But yeah, that was, so it's been, a thrill-seeking trip.
I think it's an Uzi. Is it an Uzi?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I think that a jacuzzi would be all right. A jacuzzi.
Oh, a jacuzzi. Did I say jacuzzi? An Uzi.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'd have to know them quite. You'd have to know them quite well to share a jacuzzi with them, perhaps.
An Uzi, yeah.
That's a different kind of interrogation technique. I shall put you in a jacuzzi.
Well, actually, my daughter just had some investigations about how long you can stay in the water, and you will deteriorate when you stay in the water too long, especially when it's warm water. It goes faster.
It's like you come out of a hot bath and you're in a hot bath and you're trying to get your phone to work, but the thumbprint doesn't work because you've been in the bath for too long.
Because you shrunk, or how do you say it? You crumbled up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, yeah, that trip actually, yeah, formed me in a way. And one of the most beautiful things I've had when I was on Keeling, I was diving there, just snorkeling. And I met a black-tip reef shark, and I didn't know anything about sharks, and it was circling around me. But I looked it in the eye constantly.
Yep.
And there was this moment that I looked it in the eyes and I thought, geez, you are so intelligent. So you are so underestimated as a species. And then it went away. So I was
Wow.
absolutely very lucky, because also afterwards I found out that when sharks are circling you, they see you as potential prey.
You had the confidence, you had that confidence and just gave it respect. And yeah, cool.
So yeah, that journey, I use the lessons I've learned there every day, from persisting on going on a journey, starting a journey, and persisting even when the going gets tough. And but also the lessons in well, yeah, enjoy the scenery.
Yep, I get that. I think you, when you're I'm attracted to people who travel, and I always have been, and I've traveled myself. Nothing quite as exciting as sailing the Indian Ocean, but I have done some wacky things and got myself into a few scrapes over time. But like you and the shark, I always seem to miraculously escape, without any injury or hurt to me. And people would say to me, you were lucky. It's that word, lucky, all the time. But sometimes it's just the way that you deal with things, or the way you treat people, and they will treat you the same way back. And yeah, I think, you being on a tiny boat with a few people in the middle of an ocean, you have to know yourself, don't you? You have to,
Absolutely.
really know deep inside who you are and what you're about. And it's very rare, I think, nowadays to meet people like you who have done something like that. I mean, we are all connected, we're super connected to everything all the time. When I did my traveling, I'm a lot older than you. When I did my traveling, my parents didn't know which part of the world I was in until I was out of that part of the world. By the time they got a postcard from me, because technology was so poor then.
And then you were 3 countries further.
Exactly. I was in a war zone. I was at the wrong end of the pointy end of a gun a couple of times, and my parents must have been worried sick, but most of the time they didn't know until it was okay.
Which is actually better, I think, because we are connected in all kinds of ways these days, but sometimes I wonder, and I even see it with myself, am I still connected to myself, to my inner core, and to my inner values and my inner beliefs? And that is what my trip on the Indian Ocean taught me, is to always come back to myself.
Yes, exactly.
I'm the one who has to survive this, otherwise it ends.
Exactly. I mean, you have to rely on yourself. You have to. You can't. There's no mummy and daddy's hand to hold. You just have to do it. You have to be authentic and genuine and real, and you just I think it's something that
you have to face yourself, because otherwise you go crazy, or you face yourself. There's no other way, because I've been in a hurricane storm on the ocean with 15-meter high
wow.
waves.
Yeah.
And I was on top of the world because my adrenaline was like, you. I was there on that was the third ship. So I've been on 3 ships. That was the third ship. That was the biggest ship, but we were there with just 4 people. And the captain was quite even a bigger daredevil than me. And I would never ever speak against him because he was an absolute authority and he was the captain and nobody would talk and say anything against him. But in the storm, he was doing things, and I said to him, just out of the blue, but just from my instincts, I said, "You're absolutely crazy. I will let go of the wheel now if you are going to do that." And so I really told him to put on some safety gear, and that actually saved his life. And I'm very happy with an intuitive reaction that helps that. So he broke his leg, and he had his leg almost. In this hurricane, we almost had to, operate him on his leg. But thank God the hurricane passed, or how do you say that? Left.
Yes. Yeah. Gosh.
And,
wow.
And we saw shore in a couple of days after that, so we just had to take care of it, and he went to hospital. But those things, I trust my gut feeling. I trust my instincts when it's necessary, and I, in a way, I'm quite naive. I'm not stupid, but I am naive in a way because thinking things through too much can also hold you back, or can help you make the wrong decisions instead of listening to your inner guidance. Yeah, it all sounds so super spiritual, but when you are in a hurricane, it's nothing to do with the smooshy bushy spirituality. It's just like, bam, you have to do this now. There's no, that it's a second, and within a second is life or death. And maybe it is very spiritual, but it has nothing to do with softness or anything. It's even tougher than I can imagine now.
I think so. I think your inner guidance, it's like gut. We call it gut instinct, as you say, but it's almost like digging deep into that primitive thing that kept us alive and enabled us to become the dominant species on the planet. It's a powerful thing. Primal urge that for survival. That I think, we probably need to listen to it more.
But we don't have any circumstances. I feel very lucky to have been in this situation and have been able to feel this inner guidance or instinct, or however you want to call it. And I know from people that went to the desert, they have these similar experiences because of the extreme situations you face when you're on the ocean or in the desert, because you are so far away from civilization. You have to solve it there in that moment. When something happens, you can't call the police or the hospital and ask for an ambulance. No, it's just you and the elements, and that's it. And it's everything at the same time. It's tough, it's beautiful, and yeah, it is.
I think it's real. It's more real than most of people's lives at the moment. We tend to be very antiseptic about our lives with all this nonsense about COVID, and we've got to be washing our hands 10 times a day and all this sort of thing. It's made us, and when we can't hug each other, and we're all, it's made us live a very artificial existence, I think, at the moment. And it's great to talk about things like this. And it's just funny that we were talking to a man last week, weren't we, Mela, who he has cycled across the Sahara Desert. I mean, that wasn't why we were talking to him, but it's just, it's one of these coincidences in life, and that's why I think I quite like to be around people who have done things like that, because we weren't talking to him about the fact he'd been across the Sahara in a bike. We were talking to him about something else. But there we were, and now here we are now. And
I know I said to him, you can trust your gut feeling, and I didn't say that because out of nothing, but because I knew about his experience. So I know that he has had to face these things like similar that I did on the ocean in the desert, and that I know that he can trust his gut feeling because he's had these experiences.
Exactly. I think yeah, you can see that he knows himself, and he can see that you know yourself, and it's something that not everybody can say.
No.
And so that leads us nicely into some of the things that you're doing this now with your tell us about your Facebook group, because and the name of it, and where that all came from.
So I started the authentic blockchain journey because I am a true believer in authenticity. I think everybody has an authentic self that needs to be at least explored, and well, I would love to invite everybody to be their authentic self, because I truly believe that is what is, well, yeah, actually necessary in these times, to be authentic and to really be true to yourself. And yeah, I'm a true believer in blockchain. So yeah, and journeying, it's travel. Life is a journey. So authentic blockchain journey is what I started on Facebook. I have a page and a group, and you're all welcome to join.
And do you think the blockchain space is a smooth sea, or do you think it's 15-meter waves? How would you describe the blockchain space?
I think that, yeah, I thought I know the answer, but letting it sink in a little, I like the question. I think it can be both. I think it depends on the level of education that you give yourself and you provide yourself with, if it's a 15-meter high hurricane ocean or a very smooth ride. I think it will never be very smooth, because it's a very fast developing how do you say it, system.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. It is a dynamic space.
Yeah.
I think this just came to me. This is not something I've rehearsed or planned to say, but this weekend I've just had a weekend of being completely away from all devices and digital, what would you call it, a digital detox, I suppose, but it wasn't on purpose, but that's the way it ended up. And I was on another little island, and we're kayaking, and the water was absolutely smooth, you know, like you were talking about. It was as smooth as anything. And the couple that I was with are not hugely experienced kayakers, and they're not sailors, and they're not even great swimmers. But what they were saying was that when the water was really smooth and clear, because the water is so clean where we are, you could see all the way down to the bottom, you know, very, very deep. And that scared them to death, because they could see so far down. They would have preferred it if the water was choppier, and so you couldn't see so clearly down. It was, they felt more scared when it was smooth than when it was slightly, you know, choppy, you know, so so the waves are moving about, so you can't see into the water. So it was a really interesting way of thinking about it. Me, I loved it. I loved the fact that it was clear. It was almost like scuba diving, you know, without having to get wet, you know, so you could see all the way down to the bottom. And it was a beautiful blue sky, sunny day, not like today, and it was almost like flying, you know, because you felt that you were in the air.
But that is the funny thing. You can be afraid of heights even when you're on the water. When, well, it's solid when you are in the boat.
But they sort of felt that they didn't realize how deep it was until they could see all the way down. And it's almost like, you know, when you're flying, well, I like flying as well. That's the thing. It's very difficult for me because I enjoy all those things. But the other thing about water is that even when it's clear and flat, you can't tell how strong the current is.
No, and I think even when the water is clear and smooth, it hides all kinds of dangers. And then, well, when we put that to the blockchain, I think so too, that you always have to be how do I say that, on your guard.
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the survival skills, of being in the wild, can help you even in the blockchain, in your blockchain journey.
And I think education is also a key thing in blockchain, because like my friends in the kayak yesterday, they had done their homework. They knew which way the tide was going. You can buy a little book, tiny little book, and it's local to where we live, and they publish, you can buy it everywhere. It's a tiny little book of tide tables, and it tells you what time in the morning the tide's, and so you can plan your journey, because if you're trying to kayak against the current, it's going to take you a long time.
Exhausting.
Plus it could be dangerous. So I think in blockchain, and I'm just making this up as I go along, but I think it's education is really important.
And having a plan, because that is what I just realized when you said you can make a plan for your journey. I think that is also to educate yourself and have a plan, a strategy, or how you call it, or at least know your risk level, for example, to start with. Or
how tolerant you are of risk. I mean, you're a thrill seeker. You've taken some have had some amazing adventures. Not everybody would be comfortable with that. But tell us about what you're doing now with this new project that you developed, which ties in this whole education thing and blockchain at the same time.
Yeah, so how do I start there? Yeah, a couple of months ago, I met Sean Maloney from DBM, Digital Business Masters, and I loved his workshop, and I thought I want to know more about him and what he's doing. So I'm not a novice to blockchain or crypto, but I got a little lost in all the possibilities within the DBM. So I joined as much as I could. And then I said to Sean, I want to do more for the community, because I want to help people get to know blockchain and cryptocurrency, but also find their way within the possibilities of the DBM. So I thought of a 3-month program. And well, what better to start with is in 3 months to have cash flow. So the program is called 3 Months to Cashflow, where we help people take their first steps, or maybe their continued steps within the blockchain possibilities. So it's not just crypto tokens and coins, it's also systems, and also a little guidance in how to make your plan. And I'm very happy to work with you. It's been I love to get to know people by working together in such a way. That is also how I knew that you were traveling, and that's how you connect in a deeper way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're a mindset expert as well. I mean, let's tell the audience that. I mean, you're a real expert in mindset, and it's health, happiness. All of these things are all tied up in what we do. And in the blockchain space, it's very easy to get bogged down with technicalities and cryptocurrency jargon. I don't think you or myself or Sean Maloney or any of the DBM Academy coaches, I don't think any of us are computer geeks. I think
I have to admit.
I think you're maybe being a bit unfair on yourself. I mean, we have become educated in the blockchain space, but I'm not. I don't think I would be comfortable living in my mum's basement, in the dark.
No, I started trading about, 10 years ago, and been there, done it, and didn't enjoy it that much because it was too much screen time for me, and I have better things to do in my life than sitting behind the screen all day. So, and for me, it all starts with mindset, and that is also what my sailing journey has taught me, is that how I set my mind, that outcome, in a hurricane storm, thinking, oh, I'm dying, it's not going to help you survive. So it's like, okay, what's next? And I want to get to shore. That is the only focus I had at that point. And that to me I see the same in the blockchain journey. It goes with bumps and sometimes things go the way you want it and sometimes things go the other way. But a plan, mindset, and skills, so education, are to me the starting points.
Love the whole concept of your 3-month coaching program, because I mean I have had backgrounds in finance and all the sort of boring business side of things, and I understand about planning ahead, and I always like to look 6 months to a year ahead in what I'm doing. However, I also know that cash flow is key. Cash flow is king, as they say. If you run out of money this week, then you can't do business next week. And I have seen huge companies as well as small companies go bust because they ran out of money. It's just one of those things. It's like blood. It's like the lifeblood of a business. And I also in my online experience, I've seen too many people not make any money, not have any cash, and go away feeling like failures because they didn't make a success of it. And the statistics prove that most people don't make a success of it. It's a horrible statistic. Something like only 3% of online business ventures or even any kind of small business ever becomes successful. Absolutely. And so we come across people all the time, don't we, who are just digging a financial hole for themselves week after week, month after month. And your program, your concept is really putting an end to that. We're not
also that comes from personal experience. I started my blockchain journey about 6 years ago, and I had made the toughest decision in my life because I was on welfare and I was literally getting sick of that. Well, to me, it's a sick making system you get in when you get into welfare. Yes, I'm a thrill seeker, but I'm foremost, I think I'm a freedom fighter without trying to fight, because I'm actually, kind of a pacifist. I don't believe in fighting to get something. I believe in creating and how do I say that? It's always hard to translate these things from Dutch.
You're doing a great job.
I've been doing all kinds of demonstrations, but to me, at a certain point, I realized I am giving my energy away to something that I'm against, instead of putting my energy to work for something that I want to create. And that is what I realized at a certain point. And when I started my blockchain journey, I was beyond broke. I had debt. I didn't have any income. I'd lived for 1.5 years on couches with friends and family. And I did the thing I always advise people not to do because I think it's not very good thing to do, but I borrowed 500 euros and I started my first blockchain system. I had bought some Bitcoin for 10 euros. That was working for me, which was very nice, but I didn't want to touch it. So I borrowed 500 euros, and 1 year later, I had a lovely income from that. So from that experience, and also because that income also collapsed and it came back again and it collapsed, and it's that's also part of the journey, the hoops and the bumps. That is also why I want to take people by the hand, to show them what is possible, because I wish I had this when I started 6 years ago.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think coaching is an overused word nowadays, and everybody's a success coach. And sometimes I don't like using the word coach. I prefer maybe mentor or something like that. But we can help people speed up that process, instead of taking 2 or 3 years to figure it out, which you can figure it out yourself. We're not going to kid on people. You can do it yourself. You can always do it yourself, and we are probably proof of that to a certain extent. But it takes longer. It's harder. you will waste money. We have wasted a lot of money, haven't we? Probably. I certainly have, and I've taken a lot of roads that I wish I hadn't taken, and gone down some rabbit holes that I didn't need to go down. So we can speed that up for people, you know, with our coaching. And, you know, I have a coach myself, you know, and my coach has a coach.
Yeah.
And I know he's got a coach, and you know, it just goes up the scale that it just becomes, you know, I mean, all leaders have coaches. They have people helping them. It's a bit of an ego thing sometimes. People will not admit that they need help, and so a 3-month program like yours, I think, is perfect, because you're not signing away your life.
No.
It's not. It's, you know,
and
it's
you
not
know,
a huge.
I also want to show people that it is affordable. You do not have to have a shitload of money, sorry for my language,
Yeah.
to get started. Because, you know, my first Bitcoin I bought with just 10 euros. You can start with $10 if you like. It's your choices, and that is, and it, you know, that is what we're trying to do within the program, is to make people realize the steps they can take, and that they can have their first cash flow. And it's not, you're not going to be rich overnight. I really want to emphasize on that. But cash flow means that there is money working for you, creating new money that you can spend the way you like, or
Exactly.
you can.
Exactly. If you can take $100 and turn it into $110 at the end of a month, then you have made positive cash flow. And I think the hardest, would you agree that the hardest money to make is the first? You know, once you've made $100 and turned it into 110, you can take $1,000, turn it into 11,000. It's because you have that system, I guess. You know, you've got your mindset sorted out. You've learned some skills, and we can teach people skills, and we can help them with skills, or refine their skills and sharpen them. And then you will start to develop a system, or become part of a system. And then after that, it just happens, doesn't it? Income just comes along.
And it's also about what kind of knowing a recipe. You know, when I want to bake an apple pie, when I start with potatoes, my apple pie will be completely different when I start with the apples and the meal and stuff like that. You know, so. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it with potatoes. I've never done it, but if somebody finds a recipe that works with potatoes, why not? But it is about, and that is why I see the authentic part in it, is find your way within all the possibilities, because the blockchain is a universe. There is so much possible, but take small steps. Just do your first steps, like you say, 100 euros or $100. Start it, make it 110. So your first cash flow, and celebrate that. And with celebrating, I don't necessarily mean spend it, because I think you should always think twice about what you do with the money you've earned. You know, make a money system for yourself, so that you, well, for me, financial freedom is a very important thing. But if you want to do it as a side project next to your day job, well, you can spend the $10 or the 110 if you like, and start over, or make it grow and build your assets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not about becoming a millionaire necessarily, but you know, for some people it might just be retiring a year earlier. I mean, that's, you know, if I could give you a year of your life free, that you could do anything you liked, you didn't have to go to work, you know, how powerful would that be to, you know, it's a wonderful thing. And therefore, you know, it doesn't sound very sexy or exciting, you know, retire at 64 instead of 65. But when you are 64, and when that happens, it will be very exciting.
Yeah. Or maybe have an extended holidays every day, because you can work one day less per week. And, you know, there's so much possibilities, and it all depends on what your wishes are. And I think there is the magic.
Yeah, and it all starts with that one step, doesn't it? The first step. I mean, I'm a huge believer in that. I mean, I've I've run a marathon before. I ran a marathon for charity, and I was the world's worst runner. I hated running, and I couldn't run. I couldn't run the length of my own body. But each day I got better and better. You know, one step turned into two, turned into half a mile, turned into a mile, turned into 20 miles. And I think the first step is the hardest always to take, especially if you've got this big ego that says, I don't need help. And, what would the first step be if I wanted to get involved with the 3-month coaching program? How would I find you, or what would my first step be if I wanted to find out more about this, or your
contact me.
Yeah. Okay, and so
yourself.
The name of your group is the Authentic Blockchain
Journey,
and that's authentic with a K.
Yes, with a K, because I'm Dutch. I misspelled authentic. But I thought, oh, let's leave it. I like it.
I like it. I thought you did it on purpose. I thought that was intentional.
No, I was writing it, and I was very tired when I came up with the name, and I was just writing it down, and I wrote it with a K. And next morning I was like, oh, actually quite a nice mistake.
Well, that's the inner thing again, isn't it? Coming out. I mean, the one of the biggest issues I have with online internet stuff in general is that it's too samey. You know, there's not enough authentic with a K or a C. Yeah. There's not enough authenticity and genuine, real life. So that's great. You know, I thought you did it on purpose, but
lovely. Yeah, no, okay. Sometimes these things just happen, and you have to leave it. Well, how did Bob Ross always say that? Happy. No, I forgot it. Happy accidents? No, Bob Ross has this, he passed away, but he had this lovely expression when you made when something went wrong in your painting. He said happy accidents or something like that. I don't know, I can't remember.
It's good to stand out. I mean, I've just thought of a phrase that I like, and it's actually very appropriate for what we were talking about, because it's about the C, is to stand in marketing or in online business. You really need to stand out. You need to stand out in an ocean of sameness. You know, you need to be that little beacon. You know, I mean, you could be a lighthouse like in the background there. And that's what we are in the DBM Academy, in this coaching program. To a certain extent, hopefully, we are beacons of light or hope that, people can find a way to make this work for them, because if it works for us, it can work for anybody.
Well, and that is the other thing. What I want to do with what we're doing with the 3 months project is that we only show people the proven systems and to make it as safe as possible, because it is also like a jungle where you can get lost. So we only use systems and platforms that have been proven by us. We have used it for at least 3 to 6 months, and some of them even longer. And these platforms and systems have proven themselves to us in the first place. And that doesn't mean nothing is going to happen, because all kinds of things can happen, like on the ocean, a hurricane comes up like that. But it means that we know to a certain extent that you will be able to have cash flow within the next 3 months, and that we also can diversify the risk within different platforms, because I think, well, risk management, I'm a big risk taker, but I do believe in risk management, which is very important.
Very much so. Diversification is key. You're not going to be lying awake at night worrying about every little thing if you have a whole fleet of ships that are earning you an income whilst you're doing other things. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. So I think just like to say thank you very much for joining me today. I think we'll anchor up now and leave people to get on with their day. So the Authentic Blockchain is the name of your Facebook group. The DBM Academy is the Digital Business Masters Academy. It's where we are running this 3-month program. its coaching program from. And yeah, thank you for being here, Mela.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so
Yep.
much for this lovely conversation. I enjoyed it very much.
Cheers now.
Wishing you a lovely day. Cheers.
See you.